Good morning and welcome back to another edition of Creative Space. I know it's been a while, but we have many wonderful and talented artists coming up on our programs. But today on a Valentine's Day edition, I am so grateful that Jane Marin has agreed to be our guest. So welcome, Jane, to our show.
Thank you.
So Jane, a lot of local people know you, but you're also recognised for some of the incredible work that you do, and as we can see from one of the paintings behind us, can you just give us a brief overview of your journey into this art where you are today?
A brief one.
Well, art's never brief, but...
Well, my art journey is inextricably entwined in my healing journey, which began as a very small child. I've always been a creative soul, so I won my first art competition at the age of 3 in 1967 in England. Created a collage called Ice Skaters. But growing up, I didn't really do much art. I did art at school and hated it. And I wasn't interested in continuing art after school. I'm still not interested in art theory or art history or anything like that. But I have always been a healer, an energy healer. I've always worked with energy, even as a very small child. And I had quite a traumatic childhood. At the age of 18, I ended up being really sick, bedridden for 6 months, and ended up with chronic fatigue, depression and anxiety, which continued for about 13 years. And it was something my husband said to me, because we've been together since we were 17, and he said to me, you know, you wouldn't still be sick if people didn't keep telling you that you are. And I'd been on a search for medical help for many, many years, and from him saying that, I started to think, okay, maybe there's something I can do myself. So I started studying all kinds of different alternative health therapies, and knowing that as a child, I'd had this healing energy in my hands, I sort of explored energy healing. And from there, I began to study the effects of energy in colour, and the vibration of everything around us in the world. Everything is made of the same energy, just vibrating at different rates. So eventually, I myself became a Reiki master and started working as a healer. And one day I decided that I wanted to create some images for people so that they could see and feel the energy of the 7 chakras in the body, the 7 energy centers. And at that time I was also working as a photographer and creating artwork from my photographs. So I created these little tiny mandala cards, and also colour cards. So these were to place on the body, but also for clients to see an illustration of colour energy. That sort of morphed. I started having dreams where I was told I needed to create more of these mandalas to represent different things. The first that I was instructed to create were to represent 12 angels, and then there were 12 ascended masters, and after that the final set were 12 mandalas from the 72 names of God, which are from the Kabbalah, which I knew nothing about, so I had to research all of these things before I could do them. So they became a set of oracle cards. And I worked with a friend who channeled messages for me. I did some of it myself. So together we wrote the handbook, which is this. And that's kind of what catapulted me into becoming an artist. I sent them to a publisher, and he phoned me back, literally phoned me back the day he received it, and told me he was interested. But it turned out I ended up self-publishing that set, but I then was contracted to illustrate works for world-renowned visionary Alana Fairchild, and they culminated in this set of oracle cards with mandalas. There's 4 books so far as well, and it was during that period of time when I was working on the mandalas that I decided I wanted to learn to paint. Because as a child I was a graphite artist, so I drew quite realistic graphite portraits and works, which interestingly I never considered art, because I just thought all I'm doing is copying a photograph or copying what I see, and I kind of thought, to me that's not art. So I didn't consider myself an artist. So I took some painting lessons with local artist Jazzy Watson, and sort of after the first 3 lessons I spent in tears trying to fight my way through my perfectionism. I started to let go and paint from my intuition the same way as I do my mandalas.
Yeah,
So
it's interesting when you talk about, I think we've had these conversations before about when you start off in that art, for a lot of us we want to be perfect, and it's that old step away from the painting and learning to let go of being such a perfectionist. I've noticed there's more of an interest in what I call the intuitive art, and it's interesting in the old, it's one of the very few lessons that you taught me was there's no right or wrongs in art. So it's quite interesting, that journey where you say, you didn't do the theory of art, and I know that many years ago, to be considered an artist, you had to have the theory, or PhD or a doctorate, or you had to have these titles behind you. But I think more and more people are becoming accepting of intuitive art, and as you said, the colours and the healing. So from that, and learning to kind of let go of not being so perfect, where does that take you, to this journey?
Well, the letting go of the perfectionism goes a long way towards healing and allowing yourself to heal and go with the flow. I haven't let go of it completely. There's still a bit of perfectionism. I've allowed that to come back into my art, because I've realised that it's part of me. So so my illustration work, the art that I do, my large paintings, they still have some of that perfectionism in them, but the subject and the colours and the symbols and things that come through is totally intuitive. So yeah, I've let go of that perfectionism. It's very damaging to your health. Perfectionism.
I would have to agree with you there. So it is interesting when we talk about perfectionism. I recently was listening to a documentary on a music producer, and he was playing some of the music from days of old where you could hear the tiny little mistakes or the changes in tempo, and compared it to what now is so synthesized and tidied up and so monotone. And there is a huge difference, because I've often said to somebody, I marvel at these artists that can do wonderful paintings that look like you're looking at a photograph. But as I said to somebody, for me personally, if I wanted a photograph, I would go and buy a photograph.
Yeah.
I love the paintings and I don't take anything away, but I love just looking at, like this one behind us. I just love how the colours resonate, and everyone will see different things in it.
Yeah.
And that's what I like. And even just some of the simple things like doing the art journaling, which is, you've got one of them behind you, the colours in it. And that's one of the things that I've noticed with art is just, the colours through healing, as you said. So the journey now, what is it like? Because you have won your latest award. So what was it like? And could you tell us a bit about, did you know you were being nominated? Did you expect?
This year I knew I was being nominated because as a past winner, a place getter, I was sort of automatically invited to nominate again. So I placed third in Creative Artist of the Year 3 years ago, and in trying to kind of improve my art business, I started listening to advice about what I should be painting and ways to get more sales, and it all fell apart. I sort of got sidetracked away from what is me, and interestingly I entered again the following year and didn't get a place in the Creative Artist of the Year, but placed in the Solo Entrepreneur of the Year. And I thought, okay, this has got off track. It's become more about business than my painting. So this past year I went back to being me and painting how I want to paint, painting what I want to paint, and let go of everything else, and I won the Creative Artist of the Year this year. So it was a big thrill for me, but also it also showed me that being me is more important than anything else.
I'm glad you said that, because in the past we often go back to a lot of artists of their time, like you go back to the likes of Van Gogh and some of the old masters that incredibly didn't really become famous until they were dead, because they were always told their style wasn't right, or that was wrong, or this was wrong. It's good to see that people are just accepting art for the pure joy it gives you.
Yeah.
And I think we're all a little bit like that. But so going back to sort of from the start, when you become a mother, and as many viewers would know, you also are on a farm. What was it like to did you have much time, or did you think about your creative process during those years that you were on the farm and raising children?
Yeah, but in a different way. Because I've had so many different creative endeavours. Growing up, with the kids growing up, I was making children's clothes, designing children's wear. And from that I went on to doing soft sculptures. I did cats and teddy bears. And I also did things like clay jewellery. So I've always been creative. I've always had something happening. None of those things really sort of spoke to my heart though. It was just that creative process of actually giving myself something to do, something to escape the everyday.
So it's interesting when you talk about the different journeys you've been on and the things that you've tried. Do you think a lot of artists these days get pigeonholed into doing the one thing? Like, say for instance, Jane Marin's just known for doing oracle cards or a certain type of painting. Do you think a lot of artists get pigeonholed into that, or are we becoming more accepting that an artist is an artist regardless of what they do?
That's an interesting question. It's something that I've been trying to think about myself. I've spent a lot of time trying to categorise my art. It doesn't fit into many categories. So if if somebody says, what sort of art do you do? I go, well, don't know really. My art, actually I was talking to the lovely Shelley Pisani yesterday, and that came up in conversation, and I actually came up with the type of art that I do. I'm a visual alchemist. So I'm turning energy, that healing energy, into art. I'm transmuting it into art. So I'm not categorized as a portrait artist or a landscape artist or an abstract artist, which is what I was trying to do. I was trying to categorize myself, and it just didn't work. So I think people are more accepting, but you'll usually find that an artist, even if they do lots of different sorts of art, I mean, you can usually recognise my art, whether I'm doing abstract or portraits or landscapes. It still looks like my art. So
Yes.
I think it depends on what the motivation is, what the intention is as well.
Yeah, it is interesting, and I like that description that that Shelley gave you. I think that applies to a lot of artists, because I guess when you come to think of it, art is that visual thing, and so long, like you said, portrait artist or landscape artist, and I know myself going through the different journeys of what I started painting to sculpting to doing has evolved through the years to where I am now, where I had to throw away being so perfect, because I found that I would spend months on a painting and look at it, not be happy, and end up burning it or tearing it up because I just wasn't happy with it. But everybody else would say that's so good, but I was never happy, and it frustrated me. So for I think about 10 years I didn't pick up a paintbrush, because I just thought I can't paint. Sometimes I still feel like that, but there's a big difference between what you do, say for instance this one here and the one at the back, to your workshops.
Yeah.
So I know in workshops you don't have the time to do that, but I guess it's laying the foundation. So there's a couple of paintings here that are from your workshop. So what's the sort of difference, say, between a painting you might pick for a workshop as opposed to one that you'll actually do for yourself?
Okay, so I'll start with something like this, the large paintings that I do, because people often ask me what I'm inspired by, what inspires me. So I'm not inspired by anything outside of myself. It starts with a feeling. Might be, this one was a thought of the fact that we're all one, we're all part of the universe, we're all part of the earth, everything's made of the same thing, inside and out. It's called the treasure that lies within. What's inside of you is also outside of you. And so I don't sort of, I guess I'm not a, and I know this sounds silly, I'm not a very visual person. I don't notice things around me very, I can't, I don't notice people's faces, what they're wearing. I don't notice the colour of a car. I'm just not. I'm more likely to notice how something makes me feel. And that's what starts these paintings. So they're all about a feeling, and quite often it's channeled through, and it means nothing to me, but it means something to the person who it's meant for, who buys it. And most of the paintings that I've sold over the years have been ones that I didn't like, and the ones that I thought, I don't know why I've painted this. I have no idea. I have no feeling for it. It's because it was meant for somebody else. The difference with the ones that I do for my art workshops is that these are done to teach other people to allow those feelings to come through, and to, rather than paint feelings, which is what art therapy starts off with, painting how you're feeling. It's about asking yourself what you need to feel better. So it's about letting go of all the rules that you've ever learned about art, about what colour goes with what, and and just choosing colours that you're drawn to on that occasion because they're the colours, the vibration of which you need for healing at that time. So I create lots of different styles of paintings for people to come and do, but the basis of them all is the same. It's all about letting go, going with the flow, allowing your inner creative soul to come through.
So it's interesting in talking about the workshops, and I know you are currently running a workshops on a second alternative Thursday, art in the cane yards. So it's interesting, having been a part of that, everybody can look at something and we all end up with something totally different.
Yeah.
It's like you set the foundation for painting and say, well, this is the general idea. Then we all have our own colours, our all stamp on it. And I have to admit, usually I'll finish it at home because I'll sit there and can't quite figure it out. But do you notice that? I notice the ladies in the art, when they start to paint, it is like time just passes so quickly, and we all look at each other's paintings and go, wow, that is absolutely beautiful. Yeah. And nobody ever feels like it's a mistake or it's not good enough, or I know we all want to change, but it's like art is therapy, and I notice that a lot more art is being used in therapy. So can you see in years to come that it will be something that hopefully is taught in schools and accepted more?
Yeah, well, I think it is beginning to be now. I mean, art is becoming compulsory in primary schools. It's part of the curriculum now. And yeah, I think most kids are born creative, but it's kind of squashed out of them. Well, it was squashed out of me to a certain extent. It was never, what's the word I'm thinking? It's never really been accepted as a natural part of who we are. But everybody's creative. Everybody needs to learn how to think outside of the box. So coming to a creative retreat like this, not only do you end up with a piece of art, but the more you do it, the more you find that you can start to create. Think of creative solutions for all kinds of other things. Because you start to let go of those rules and start to, go with the flow and just let that intuitive thought come through.
Yeah, I like the idea of art in school and art as therapy. We're going to take a bit of a break now, and while we're having a break, we're just going to have a look at some of Jane's wonderful images up on the screen that will give you an idea of just exactly what she does. And we'll be back shortly. Welcome back to Creative Space with our beautiful artist, local Jane Marin. So just for those, I have just been told that I've been pronouncing Jane's surname wrong all along. Jane, so we've had a look at some of the images of your workshops and the different things you do. Now, you mentioned before that you have retreats. So when someone comes to a retreat, what exactly do you do from start to finish?
Okay, so my retreats refer to the workshops really. So I have half day and full day retreats. And the half day retreats are also called Coffee, Cake and Canvas. So we'll start off with we always start with a little bit of a meditation and breathing exercise to sort of let go of the stresses of every day. And we'll do something like this painting here, because this one's a coffee cake and canvas one, so they generally something that we can do within a 2 to 3 hour space of time. We have coffee and cake supplied by the Alloway Farm Market, which is really nice. They've been partnering with me for quite a few years now. And yeah, so that's a nice easy one to do. The full day workshop is about, we start at 10, finish at 4. That includes morning tea and lunch as well. So it's usually a larger painting, something that's going to take a lot longer to do, but similar kind of process. We'll still do the meditation, and sometimes we'll pull an oracle card just to you know, set an intention or to help with motivation, that sort of thing.
So I've noticed from the retreats and art, and I think, you know, we've both been on the learning how to, I guess, marketing and different courses. So I've noticed art now has taken the leap from canvas to merchandising.
Yes.
So I know behind us we have one of your beautiful water bottles with paintings on it, and I must admit, I can sit there on a canvas and try and perfect that, and it still never looks as good as yours. And the scarf that you've got on at the moment. So the process now from going from art to canvas or art from a journal to actual merchandising, was that a difficult one to go through?
Not really for me. I actually used to teach Photoshop, but many years ago. I still have my original Photoshop disc, which I use. So scanning or photographing an artwork to put on merchandise is a fairly simple process for me, and I don't do a lot of different things. I have my water bottles and my scarves and tote bags, just keeping it fairly simple. But not all pieces look good on merchandise, so you know, it's a process. It's something that, you know, it takes a lot of time to sort of to make it work properly.
So for you often hear a lot of people saying, and I've said this to previous guests before, you hear people saying, I can't paint, you know, can't even draw a stick figure. I've noticed though a lot of people that have actually done your workshops come away, and you can tell by the looks on their faces that they're so happy with what they've done. Do you think it's just the colour process, or is it being with a group of people? Is it a confidence thing? From, say, when you started, can you place yourself in their shoes?
Yes, I can to a certain extent. As I was saying before, when I did the classes with Jessie Watson, which are a more abstract style of painting, which is something that I'd always wanted to learn, I spent the first 2 or 3 lessons literally in tears because I didn't believe I could do it. I couldn't let go of that needing everything to be perfect. And that's the most common thing with people that come to workshops is trying to make everything perfect. And I have a lot of people who keep coming back and back because having been able to let go of that perfectionism, they're now starting to develop their own painting styles. But it's not only in their artwork, it's in their life altogether that things change. And that's what keeps people coming back. So it's a like-minded group of people. It's learning new skills, life skills as well as art skills. It's the energy that comes through in the colours and in the lesson itself, because we always have some kind of a theme, whether it's about self-love or compassion or something like that. So all those things together, and everybody will come away with a piece of artwork which they didn't think they could create.
Are any of your children artistic?
Both of my children are artistic. they're both dancers, acrobats. One's still a dance teacher and the other one's an engineer, but they're both creative, very creative.
So at home, I know with a lot of artists, do you ever look at a painting and say, I just absolutely cannot get rid of that one, I have to keep it?
Yes. Both of those.
So I was going to say, so how many paintings would you have on the walls or store that you can't get rid of?
Probably only, there's 2 or 3 that I have at home that are staying for the time being, but quite often once they've done their job in healing me in some way, then I'm ready to let them go. There's probably a couple that I've painted, which, well, this one here, he's my spirit guide, so he stays with me. He's painted from what I see in my mind when I talk to my spirit guide. This one, I don't know. She's with me for a while now, but I've let go of a few in the last year or so that I've had with me for a while.
Do you ever see? I've noticed that you will see paintings that are similar, maybe in style or inspiration. So if you see someone painting something that is probably inspired from your art, how does that make you feel? I know some artists get very thingy about it, they don't like it. How does it make you feel?
It depends on what it is. Like if it's something, like I've had a few artists ask me, they've been to a workshop and they've asked me if they can teach somebody else to do the work, you know, do the painting that they did at the workshop. As long as they credit me, that's fine. Otherwise, as long as they're not, you know, selling the workshop as their own, that doesn't really worry me. I mean, if somebody's inspired by my work, that's cool.
That's, yeah, that's, I guess art, a bit like writing, and there's lots of plagiarism going on. Do you have, I know a lot of authors and a lot of photographers have the copyright. Can you get copyright on art?
Yes, definitely. But just at the moment, there's another set of oracle cards that I illustrated for called Eternal Crystals. There's stolen copies of that being sold on the internet at the moment. They've copied the whole lot, and it's just being sold for a fraction of the price that we can sell it through the publishers. So that happens, and there's not a lot we can do.
Yeah, it makes it pretty unfair, doesn't it? So where do you see yourself going on this journey in the next few years?
I'm continuing on the way I am at the moment because I'm just really enjoying it, and to me that's what's important at the moment. Developing new workshops is always fun, and yeah, just continuing creating new artworks. I'm contracted to do another couple of sets of oracle cards, and I mean, if a set's got 40 or 50 cards in it, that's a lot of paintings to do. So I'm going to be busy for the next couple of years anyway. So
when you do the oracle cards, is there a brief given to you? Do they say we want this, that, or that, or do they just say you've got to basically go with what they say?
It depends. Sometimes I'm given a lot more information than others. Sometimes it's left up to my intuition, and other times I'm given a bit more of a strict guideline.
The latest set of oracle cards that you've got coming out are more aimed for the younger
the children's one, the round ones, yeah.
Were you given a brief for those, or were they from intuition?
That one I had all the information because it was a reimagined set that he's created. The ones I'm working on at the moment are more intuition, yeah. It's
interesting. And exhibitions, as far as exhibitions go, do you do many? I mean, I know recently I was lucky enough to be able to see your exhibition at the Book Boutique in Bundaberg. How much work goes into setting up for an exhibition like that?
A lot of work, especially if you don't have many paintings left. I don't do a lot of exhibitions. My work has a fairly narrow appeal, so it's not the sort of thing you'll find in a gallery. More likely to see it at a wellbeing or health healing expo.
So it's interesting you say that about a gallery. Why do you think it is that maybe galleries don't promote or don't exhibit paintings like yours? Do you think it's just the galleries themselves? Because I know that there are a lot of people out that are drawn to your paintings, look at the colours, and I often think, why don't we see more of that in galleries?
Yeah, I often wonder that myself.
Maybe someone out there can answer that for us. But I have really enjoyed talking to you today, Jane, and I'm so very grateful that you gave up your time to come and spend with us.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. It's been awesome.
So Jane Marin, thank you very much and happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day to you too, Karina.
Thank you. Thank you for watching Creative Space, and coming up in the next few weeks there's going to be some amazing guests. Stay tuned. I'm not going to tell you what they are, it's going to be a surprise, but wherever you are today, enjoy the rest of it and have a wonderful creative space. Thanks for now.